Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here today on this April 21st, 2022. And I am Nick Kanoki. Thank you all for being here again. And I am very excited for our special program featuring a number of speakers doing something we haven't done, I don't think, on this program before. So before we get underway, I just want to thank our patron members as well as our other organizational members, because we couldn't do programs like this without their continued support. And as we are a network, we rely on organizational members and senior fellows and a network of leaders spreading the good word. Thank you again for being here today. And we want to remind you about our upcoming roundtable, April 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern, different time, trying it out for our international community. But we have a bunch of speakers talking on the subject, people are not assets. So if you're liking the programming we're putting out here and interested in seeing an upcoming roundtable, please join us April 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern for that program. And now I would like to bring on Jim Dieter, ALN CEO, to start off the next part of our program. Jim, why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. And it's great to have Jack Kelly and Yvonne Carney here representing the US TAG, who is one of our organizational members. And I think we'll get Nick to join us a little bit here because he had a hand in what we're going to be talking about today. But we're doing a little, like Nick said, a little different today. Yvonne and Jack and Nick and I will be talking a little bit. And then at 3:30, we'll, after we do our normal, sort of closing, and then sometimes we go to overtime. Instead of doing that, we'll have a demo. That Yvonne will lead us through a demo, and Jack will add comments, I'm sure, about the campus website that we're going to be talking about today. So first, welcome, Yvonne. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. Good to be here.
That's good. And can you tell people, what's your 1-minute bio?
Oh, sure.
What do you do?
Yeah, I am a strategic performance director at WSSC Water. We're a water utility that serves bi-county area in Maryland, Prince George's, and Montgomery County, the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And we have lots of assets of which we are working to optimize their value. And I'm a participant in ISO 55000, the TAG, and specifically that MC3 helped to lead the mirror committee focused on communication.
Super. We'll sort out some of those acronyms in a minute.
Yes, exactly.
What does WSSC stand for?
Oh yes, well now that is our name, WSSC Water, but it started as Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, which was the perfect name, and as we were founded 103 years ago, but didn't include the word water. So now our name, we changed a couple years ago to include water.
Ah, okay, super. Well, thank you. And Jack Kelly, let's see. Welcome, Jack. How are you doing today?
I'm just doing fine, Jim. Thank you.
And I know most people probably on the show today, listening to the show or in the future, have never heard of you on an ALN program.
I keep changing my name.
So what's your 1-minute bio, Jack?
My 1-minute bio is I joined the ALN within 2 years after I retired from the federal government, and have been having a great time since. I mean, I learned about asset management. I keep learning about asset management and all the different directions that takes us in, and it's fascinating. And so I'm probably having a lot more fun now than I had when I was doing real work, doing paid work.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both. So what are we talking here today? What are we talking about, Yvonne? Why are we here?
We are here to introduce the community of asset management practitioners in the US website, which has been an effort of the committee, the communications committee, over the last year or so to get this. And then we really started in earnest with working with ALN on the design in the November, December timeframe. And so we're really excited to introduce this website and to encourage those of you participating today to join us in this community and participate on this website and check it out and be a part of this group.
Awesome. So you talked about Mirror Committee 3, and I think as now I am now chair again of the US TAG. So I hid out for a while, but they found me. For each of for those that don't know, the TC 251 is divided into, or there are numerous work groups, which is the committee level. On at the international level, and in the US we have committees of people involved in those various work groups, with each have a leader. And so there's work group 3 at the international level is about communications, and Mirror Committee 3 in the US is led by Yvonne. Did I get that right, Yvonne?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Now, Jack, I know you have some history. You have some history.
I do.
You got the less than book length version of that history for us?
I hope so. I've got it written on the back of my thumb. So it's a thumbnail sketch. So so basically, my interest got in things that having to do with the adoption of ISO 55000 around the world began back in 2018 when Michael Hardy and I, Michael's another ALN senior fellow, we started work on we developed a ALN white paper on the history of asset management. And as we got near the end of that white paper, all of a sudden the question struck us, well, we wonder who around the world has actually adopted asset management. And the only way that we had of determining that was a list that Jim pointed us to that was being sponsored by the TC 251 Working Group 3, the communications working group of TC 251, and it was called the List of Known Certified Organizations. So the abbreviation that we use for that is the KCO list. So at the time we learned about that list, this was like April of 2018, there were 168 organizations around the world that had been certified, at least so we thought, certified to ISO 55001, 3 of which were in the United States. And so that was that was my starting point of being interested in what the story is about the adoption of ISO 55000. About a year later, I took another look at it because I keep cycling back to this list about once or twice a year, and took another look at it, and there were some more. And that's when I realized that the organizations were clustered around 4 countries. And the 4 countries had, I think, in the 30s and 40s and sometimes higher numbers of certified organizations. And they were Japan, Australia, the Netherlands, and the UK. And I thought, well, gee, I wonder what's special about those countries. And so I dug into that as best I could, and I did a presentation that you can see on our website. It's called "Where in the World is ISO 55000 and Why?" And so that I thought that had some interesting things. And then when I cycled back to that list again about a year later, I started deciding I wanted to dig deeper. And there's not a lot on that list. I think if Nick can put up that screenshot of the TC 251, the KCO lists website, I don't know if he has that easily available. There it is. And so thank you, Nick. And so what you see is that it's organized at the high level by parts of the world. And for each part of the world, well, hold on right now. Whoa, back up. You have, this is all it tells you. It says what the organization is in that part of the world, what sector it's been, it operates in, what country it's in, and then the link is supposed to be a link to evidence of certification. So you can do that. That's fine. What you're going to see is, this is one of the good guys, I hope. So there's their certification, and that's evidence that they indeed are certified. Okay, Nick, you can stop sharing now. Thank you. But that's all you've got. And if you want to find out more about what happened, you can go to the certificate and you can find out what the scope of their asset management system was. You can find out when the certificate was issued and so forth. But that's it. That's all you've got. And when I started digging into the list, Nick just happened to hit a good one. There are a whole lot of organizations that are on that list that don't have good evidence of certification. Some of them have press releases, some of them have, nothing, like page not found. I mean, it's a real mixed bag of things. And so I thought, well, this is interesting, a little disturbing. So let me dig into that further. So just fast forwarding a little bit to the other side of my thumb.
Fast forward is good.
So fast forwarding again, I ended up joining Working Group 3, and I got to work closely with a guy named Baudouin Nayens, who is the convener of Working Group 3. And Baudouin's actually the father of the KCO list. I mean, he designed it. He's the one that helped lead the collection of the data that went into it. And he now seems to be the main person who goes back over it from time to time and tries to clean it up. But there's not a lot of person power available to clean that list up. So as a consequence of that got me thinking. I wondered, well, maybe there might be another way to approach this list. Oh, let me back up. When I talked about one about it, he said, well, and complained about the fact that a lot of these people weren't actually certified. He said, well, his goal was actually always to try to tell the broadest possible story about who's involved in asset management in the different countries. So even though it said known certified organizations, he wasn't all that concerned about people showing an involvement with asset management, even if they weren't certified. And I complained that there wasn't any way to distinguish between the ones that were certified and the ones that were just sort of there because they thought asset management was cool or whatever it was. So, and he said, he acknowledged that. He said, well, the problem is that the ISO web technology that they use to do these things, put these lists on, is just too limited to do more. So that got me thinking, and that thinking led to having a conversation with people in the ALN and people in the US tag. And so what we decided to do, the US tag agreed basically to do a pilot project to see if we couldn't create a list of information about people in the United States who were somewhere on the asset management adoption path, or even people they were just interested in it, but to cast the widest possible net about the involvement of US organizations in asset management, and then provide a website that would help tell that story. And so that was the genesis of the campus website. And it was, and we've had some great input on it, some great thinking. And so that's how we got started.
Okay, that's good. That was pretty good, Jack, because I know we have talked about it for hours. So.
Yes.
So Yvonne, can you tell us any more about Work Group 3 and what does other Work Group 3 do other things, or what are they about?
Well, so we are about raising awareness of ISO 55000 in the US and seeking to attract people to its application and benefit. That's our mission. And so I think when I joined, there was activities around promoting what is ISO with professionals at, for example, just letting people know what is the standard and how they might become involved. And so in the committee has been focused on both promoting what ISO is among professionals, kind of recruiting people to the tag, and then also kind of referencing this known certified organizations. So when I first started, I think I was, not sure, are we here to like recruit more members? Are we here to, is it sort of internal, or are we more kind of externally focused? And so I was really delighted that Jack joined and had been involved in this, because I think he has provided us, based on all of this research he's done, this tremendous direction to go into that has now led to the campus. And so my role has been in kind of as a facilitator, bringing together this team and everyone who has these good and great ideas to help facilitate that now becoming very exciting, becoming a reality.
So
Go ahead,
I'd like to add just a tad to that. One of the things, so that's how we got started. And Yvonne's been a great convener of our working committee, or mirror committee. But sort of the role of the campus website has kind of expanded slightly as a result of some of the work that Working Group 7 has been doing. And the Working Group 7 is the working group that's been developing the international standard on how countries can become more engaged in asset management. And one of the things that came up during that work was the idea that maybe national mirror committees like the US TAG could play a more important role in advancing and supporting asset management in their respective countries. I mean, traditionally, the national mirror committees, I mean, I think that Jim would know this far better than I, but my sense is that they were initially created to gather more input from countries, from different organizations within countries, into the development and the revision of various standards. And what's been happening, and this is, I credit Bowdoin with a lot of this, is that he sort of decided, well, maybe that the US, or the TAG, the Technical Committee 251, through the Communications Committee, should play a stronger role in encouraging the adoption, not just reporting on it, but encouraging the adoption of the standard. And that's how the KCO list was started. And so Working Group 7 kind of took that idea and said, well, maybe there are other things, not just putting out a list, but there are other things that a National Mirror Committee might be well positioned to do in order to support organizations in the country that want to adopt asset management. So as Yvonne will show you later, there's a section of the campus website that's intended to provide resources to US countries to share information about asset management that comes from different sources. So it's not just to showcase who's doing it and where are they on the journey, but it's also to provide some tools that people who want to look at themselves through a different light, want to advance how they're doing, learn some lessons that other people have learned, to do that too. So the campus website has evolved from what the KCO list has done, which is just, who's doing it, to trying to take it a step further. So, but we're a work in progress, and we're a prototype. We're like the USS Enterprise. We're venturing where no person has gone before, at least in this area.
So if I'm an organization that has assets, why should I get involved in this effort?
Well, are you interested in asset management, or not?
Oh, yes, of course. I don't know how to spell it, but I'm interested.
You're interested. You've heard about it. It's a good thing, and so assuming that might make you want to learn more about it, then this is a way to do that. This is a website that will help you learn more about it. And also, let's say that you're in a particular sector. You're an electric utility, or you're a water utility like WSSC, or you're a manufacturing, or you're an airport, and you say, well, I've heard about it, but I wonder if anybody else in my sector has heard about it and has made progress. And these are people that I might want to know more about. I might want to reach out to them. And so it's a vehicle to help people who want to improve their understanding of asset management. And maybe if you're like at the top of the heap and you're doing things you're proud of and you're willing to share, then that's an opportunity to do that too.
And just to piggyback on that, I think that this provides a way for individuals that are working in organizations that want to advance their asset management practices. It provides an opportunity to, as Jack was saying, sort of see who those organizations are, whether you're interested within your own sector or want to branch out to see some other sectors. To have, I think often in our work, it's helpful to have some examples, illustrations, comparatives to sort of nudge things forwards a little bit. And so that is something that absolutely someone who is interested could come to this and sign up, and well, even without signing up, see other organizations that are already signed up, and then, you know, kind of participate themselves. I think we also, and I'll be showing it in the demo, have a resources section that we intend to, it's a starting place right now, and we want to be evolving what is there to include things like case studies. But we think if all of these are really resources for people to learn, to connect with others who are trying to kind of are on a journey, an asset management journey as well, somewhere along the journey.
One of the things that I have learned from some of these Thursday at 3, previously Thursday at 4 sessions, as well as from ever since I joined the ALN back in, I guess, 2015, we would have these annual conferences, and we still have them. And one of the things that those conferences do, as well as some of our other webinars have done, is showcase people and organizations that are on the asset management journey, sometimes in a very advanced way, but haven't sought certification, may not even intend to seek certification. But they are definitely part of the story that we want to tell about the US adoption of asset management. We also know from other countries, and the first one that leaps to mind is Canada, where you have broad adoption of asset management at the municipal level. But they don't care about being certified as to asset management, or to ISO 55001. But nonetheless, it's pervasive across Canadian municipalities, and we don't know if the same thing is true here, but this is a way for us to find out. It's a raise, so as we said before, it's a way to raise the visibility of asset management adoption beyond those organizations that have sought certification.
No,
I was just going to chime in too, somewhat selfishly. So prior to working at WSSC Water, I worked in transportation, and working in transportation, the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, AASHTO, has a really robust website that's been developed over many years that is like kind of a hub of transportation asset management resources. And so I think what drew me to participating in this initiative is having a way to do something along the lines of what AASHTO has done, but bring that across a wide variety of asset types. And of course, we know that we can learn from one another, even if we're working in different sectors.
Yeah, from an ALN perspective, of course, the ALN sprang out of the US TAG. There were limits to the ability and some other factors of the US TAG to promote ISO 55000, and that's what we've been involved in, of course, asset management, structured approach to asset management, ISO 55000. But I think this is a great example of a role that the US TAG can play more aptly than the ALN, as more, as an even more independent party, and can use that information to inform US involvement in the international activities as well. So let's talk a minute about how we developed this, so how did we get I'm proud to see in the bottom corner there, and we'll get to Nick in a minute, but powered by the ALN. How did we come to that, Yvonne?
Right. Well, let's see. So Jack put together a proposal to have a pilot, and the pilot included 3 components. This kind of US version of the known certified organizations, to have a way to promote case studies and examples. And then to, as Jack was talking about, to kind of utilize or kind of move our, have more of a role in communicating the benefits within the US, which is a transition from what the role had been before. So that proposal went before the US TAG, and that was supported. And then we then worked to figure out, well, how would we actualize this idea? And that's where ALN became part of this approach. And Jack, let me know if I'm leaving anything. I'm thinking through the steps in the process. But then I think we drew up an agreement of what the scope of what this would be, and that this was kind of a pilot to see if it was successful, and with success, we hope it's something that we can continue to build on. And then we started with, once that the US TAG agreed to do that, then we started with prototype, kind of on paper, using Jack's vision of what the key content elements would be, to lay out initially on one sheet of paper what the different components might be. And then we had just a lot of meetings to sort out what information we might want to be collecting and asking for people to submit to us to be part of this, both to share and to have presented as part of the campus directory. And then actually Nick moving into the design, and then reviewing the design and going, doing, and then all the testing that Jack is so expertly done to get us to where we are today. And Jack, what big things did I leave out of that?
Well, the only thing that I think is worth adding, when we brought it to the TAG, we had good discussions about it, and the TAG was very interested, but the TAG doesn't have a web presence. I mean, it didn't have any capacity to actually support the development and operation of a website. And so, of course, the ALN does have that capability. And so there were conversations. And so basically what happened was that the US TAG actually joined the ALN as a member. And as a member, they get access to certain capabilities. And one of them was the capability to develop this website. And then we turned it over to the wizard, who is Nick, and voila, we have what their people are about to see in a couple minutes.
Well, that's timely. That's timely, Nick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, by voila, Jack means back and forth, lots of thinking and working on either end.
All right. Well, we need a good clip here now, because as we close out this first segment before we go to the demo, I believe that you're really prepared to make an important announcement today. Is that right, Yvonne?
Yes, it's the website is launched and live. So,
how can we find it?
Oh, yes. Let's see. Should Nick or I put it in the chat?
It's in the chat right now.
Oh, yay! Great. So does that mean I should share my screen?
Please do.
Well,
I think Nick has got something to say first.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, it's that time of the program where we just want to thank our patron sponsors, patron members, and other organizational members, because again, without their continued support, we couldn't do great things like build this website, show this website off to you guys, and compile information about asset management in the US. So thank you very much to these organizations, and we look forward to continuing our good work together. Oh yeah, and I should have said before I moved on, please attend our upcoming roundtable on People Are Not Assets. not totally related to this program, but maybe you'll see in that roundtable why they are connected.
Well, very good. Okay, so we didn't get to Nick to give much a chance to talk. So before I go to the demo, Nick, you know, what was your view of developing this web presence?
Oh, a great process. I was very grateful for the concept. You know, the desire, of course, is, you know, the website is here to facilitate this awesome goal and this awesome resource that I think we're about ready to release to the world now. So it was a great project to work on. Really appreciated the kind of the continuously improving iterations of here's our idea, I go implement, we circle back, what do we like, what we, you know, it's great process. And I think we've got to something that we're all proud of. I know I'm proud to say I was a part of the process, and I certainly cannot take the credit myself, as I was really just acting upon y'all's, you know, hard thought input. And now I think, yeah, like we can say, and we'll see here shortly, it looks good. I think it works good. And those are, you know, at least two of the main concerns here. But yeah, in general, I was thinking just, you know, how can we do this simply? There are a million ways to do this sort of thing now with all these website development platforms. And, you know, there's so many ways to attack this problem, but going for a simple, cost-effective solution that functioned well and was accessible for everyone. So I think we've got that. The site seems fast, and we're ready for input. So if your organization is somewhere on the journey, as I think we all should be, please go fill out the form and join the campus.
If anybody's ever been involved in a website development project, this could be the smoothest website development project that came in on time, on schedule, that I have ever imagined. So excellent work, all of you folks.
Yeah, to everyone involved.
Well, without further ado, let's do.
All right, great. And I first want to, before I bring it up, I also want to give credit to Jennifer Zach, who is a member of our committee as well as ALN, and she was instrumental in the design and working with Nick, both with the prototype as well as a number of the design elements. So really appreciate her perspective to the user experience. So I want to give a special shout out to her. All right, so let me share my screen.
We shouldn't forget David Totman either.
Oh yeah, I mean, really all of the members of MC3 that should get a special shout out. All right, is my screen up, or should I try that again?
It is.
It is, yay, good. Okay, all right, so everyone, this is the community of asset management practitioners in the US campus. This is our a virtual community to provide visibility into the adoption of asset management in the US. And so we have 3 key sections of this website. We have Join Campus, Campus Directory, and then Industry Resources. And Jack and I have kind of touched on each of these topics during this webinar. So first on this homepage, you'll see down at the bottom here is, and just in case as you're going through and you have questions or feedback, please let us know at this email address. And you can see a website powered by Asset Leadership Network there. So you'll see under the About, we have, just for folks that are like, what is asset management? We have that here, some background on what that is and the elements of asset management systems. And then, as Jim mentioned, it can be a little bit of an acronym soup for all the different entities that are involved, and it can get a little confusing. I know as a newbie to this organization a little more than a year ago, it took me a little while. I think until Jack wrote this all down. But here you'll see just a little bit of explanation about who is ISO, what are the national standard bodies, what is this technical committee 251, And then who are the, kind of organizations that support this, the American National Standards Institute, as a national standards body, and then also ASTM that administers the 251. So more detail on who all these groups are there. And then, so that's our about section. And then this is where we want to encourage you all to consider joining. This is Campus. And so again, we're using data to promote awareness of the community of asset management practitioners in the US. So Nick set this up very smoothly for us that you can fill out your information here. And do you think, Jim, I could like fill it out as we're going? It should only take me like a minute to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use my organization. So my name, email address, I'm in the US, and organization size, and the type of organization. I'm by county, but so I'm going to pick county. And then the industry sector, we use the NIAX code, or no, wait, I think it's pronounced differently, but North American Industry Classification System for that, in the 2-digit one. So I'm under utilities, and I can put our website. And logo, I don't have a logo. Adoption scale, I'm just going to say there's different options here. So just starting on the journey, implemented some principles and requirements from ISO, adopted most or all, have become certified, have adopted asset management requirements that go beyond ISO, or unknown if you're not sure or maybe not comfortable filling one of those out, then you can select unknown. So I'm going to say we're 2. And then, does your organization intend to become certified? I'm not sure. Okay, and then has your organization been certified? NA to that, and then submit. Easy peasy, doesn't take long. Then you'll get a message here, and as a team, we'll be reviewing these submissions. I should have pointed out that each of the items that had a little star by it, those are the items that we will carry over into the directory. First, before publishing it to the directory, though, we'll be in touch with you. We might want to clarify some items with you. So within 5 to 10 days, it'll then be published to the directory section. So I'll go to that. And this still has some of the kind of test ones in there. So those will show up here in a minute. So you'll see here where once as you start to add your organizations here, you'll be able to search, and we include the organization name. Here, this one is the primary contact person, an email, country, the size, the type of organization, industry sector, all those questions, not all, many of the questions that were listed, the starred items from the form. And what's cool about this is it lets you filter and group and sort. And so once this becomes really filled out, I'll be able to, as a water wastewater utility, I'm probably kind of interested in starting with looking at those organizations. And so I can sort and filter for those. And then on any of these items, I can filter. And so that's this page. And then, so we expect that we hope that this will grow to be a very long list of organizations and individuals participating. And then here, as I mentioned, this is kind of the beginnings of this page. We have some listed asset management advocacy groups, and then other associations that are advocating asset management, ASCE, ASHTO, which I mentioned, American Water Works Association, and then some other resources there as well. And so this is kind of a starting place for this page, and we hope with feedback from all of you, as well as just as this website matures, we really want to add more content on this page as it grows. Jack, is there any sections that I didn't cover or you want to me to go back to?
No, I think you did a great job. So one of the things, I mean, it might be interesting if any people who are, I don't know if people have put comments in the chat or questions in the, whoops, wait a minute, or comments or questions in the chat, but this would be, if anybody, who's listening in has questions they want us to answer, it would be a good time to do that. The only other thing I would mention on the screen that you have up is when you click on these websites down here, ASCE and AASHTO and AWWA, what you need to, if you want to find the asset management materials, you need to enter asset management in the search box that shows up in those organizations' home pages, because you don't really know where all the detailed asset management stuff is, but the search box will return it to you. And I found that to be a very effective way to actually get to what you're looking for. No, great job, Yvonne.
Nick, any other thoughts to share on using the website or anything about
it? Really just that it's powered by WordPress and Airtable for the database. And so other organizations that are interested in doing something like this, or other countries that are interested in doing something like this, again, part of the one of the ways that I decided how to go about doing this, in which there's many ways one could do it, was simplicity. So I'm using fairly out of the box software, and of course tailoring it and doing some custom stuff as well. But you could get something like this going, without a ton of resources and stuff. So this is a possibility for other organizations or countries. And I know that was something that the MC3 was potentially interested in going forward. And I guess I won't say more about that until we talk more about that. But I guess my only other question to put to the team was, once we do have a directory full of organizations, hopefully, who've submitted their data, what are you guys hoping to do with that? Can you see any of the, graphs that we may be able to come up with in the future, and what they would be about, and what value they would provide to the world or other organizations interested in ISO 55000?
Let me jump in. My hope, one of my hopes for what we're doing, is that it will serve as a model for what other national mirror committees might want to do. It turns out that a number of national mirror committees have their own websites, but none of them has a function like this. I mean, some of them, a few of them, and for example, China is a good example, they actually list certified organizations on their websites, but out of the 17 or so that we've identified so far, there are only just a couple of them that actually lists their certified organizations, but nobody goes beyond that. And so what we're trying to do here, or what we're doing here, really goes further along to fulfill Bhadwaj Nayan's vision of what he was hoping the KCO list could be than anything I've ever seen. So I'm hopeful that other countries will take a look at this and say, well, we may have a different take on it, but we can use this kind of approach not only to highlight who are part of the asset management practitioners in our countries, but also what resources would be helpful. So this is intended to be a dynamic website. It's intended to be dynamic in the sense that we hope organizations will continue to add their information to it, and also will eventually, as Yvonne suggested earlier, we'll be able to create a richer source of information that can support the further adoption of asset management within the United States. And that's going to, if the way that I see that possibly happening, hopefully happening, is that organizations that want to be part of this, an active part of this community, will start, providing information, case studies, or other information, or just connecting with one another and using this as the hub of a communications network within the United States that wants to advance asset management. I remember in an earlier life, one of the things that I would run into in the IT world are what they call communities of practice or special interest groups, which are people focused on a particular issue. And you get all these different people and organizations focused on an issue, and there's great information sharing that goes on, and it improves whatever the issue is that they're working on. And I'm hoping that this website will become the centerpiece of that kind of effort in the United States.
So Mike Bordenaro, Mike, why don't you join us and share what you can about the conversation we had yesterday about a potential study that could have used this, that could use this data.
Because I'm having a bad hair day. I'll leave the hat on. I wasn't planning on being on camera, but through our patron member ABS Quality Evaluations, we were informed of the IIOC, International Organizations for Certification. I forget what the second I is. And there are 9 organizations like ABS Quality Evaluations, Lloyd's of London, and 7 others that have joined together because they certify organizations to ISO standards and other standards. That's their job, to be the third-party certifier. And they went to Harvard and said, it would be great, you know, we've got this new health and safety ISO standard, and it would be really great if you studied the organizations that are using it and report whether or not it's useful. And that was published just a few weeks ago. And so Dominic Townsend connected us to the executive director, Marcus Long, from he's in London. And immediately we had a great conversation and totally aligned with the idea of promoting ISO 55000. Because here's a guy who looks at standards, all of them, and understands that ISO 55000 is really a special standard. And he just so happens to be going to Harvard next week to talk with the professor who led the study. So he wanted to know what we might be able to study about ISO 55000. And I went to Jim, and Jim said value. And we had another meeting with Marcus yesterday. And Jim put together this really great analogy with baseball and how there's a measurement for how a player performs relative to other second basemen or other pitchers or other right fielders. And you put in statistics, you get an average. The average means 1. If you're 1.1, you're a little bit above average. If you're 0.90, you're a little bit below average. And that might be a way to measure value, because value is so ubiquitous. And so Jim's idea is getting delivered in person to Harvard next week.
But having in an actual study, having the list of organizations on the journey would be a great starting point if those people were interested in participating.
Harvard would be able to reach out to them a lot, very easily.
So 2 things before we wrap up. One is Bill Brodt said he was from NASA, said he'd be certainly willing to fill out the form. So thanks for that, Bill. And Yvonne, I see you're having a little, discussion in the chat with Chris Silkey from Portland. You want to share? You want to share anything about that chat?
Oh, sure. Yes, he was suggesting that it would be good to have a practice sharing component of the database, for example, using asset management to advance equity. And I was responding that, the resources section right now is sort of, is the area we want to really build that up. And so I thought that would be a great topic for us to, include in some future resources there, and have that practice sharing component there around topics. So those are great suggestions. Also, Chris had another suggestion about to be able to sort for Parks and Rec. And we did have a good, so that's a great suggestion. We had like a back and forth about what level of detail to go with. And so for this first round, we went with the 2-digit code. So, but it's that maybe if we went down another level, we might be able to pick up Parks and Rec, so you could sort on that. So that's a great suggestion that we can be thinking about for future iteration of this. Thanks, Chris, for those 2 suggestions.
And I see Chris Gawley, who we have to thank for leading the US tag and initiating this effort. So thank you, Chris. He asked, how are we going to advertise this website?
That's great. So we have, well, this is our first opportunity today to have this webinar among our friends in the Asset Leadership Network. And then what we've talked about, we do have a small group on LinkedIn. I've now learned that it's better to have an organization page on LinkedIn. So I'm working on getting that set up. And once we do, I think that'll help us to spread, and you all to help us spread the word. But one, I just ask those of you participating today, if you would consider signing up and sharing it with your colleagues. Also, we've talked about including a link to this now that it's published and live in an upcoming ALN newsletter. So those are some of the ideas that we've talked about. And if you have more suggestions for us, please send them our way. Welcome suggestions about how to get the word out.
Okay, so we have in one last minute, we could ask Yvonne and Jack, we can, if you stop sharing your, well, you could keep the screen share on.
Oh, okay.
I'll leave it on, that's actually good.
Okay.
Give us what we can use as the 1-minute clip as an advertisement on why what this website is and why they should be interested in it.
All right. Jack, you want to go first?
Okay. Well, first of all, if you're interested in asset management and you want to find out who other than you in this country is interested in asset management and where they are in the asset management journey, this is a place that you can come to. And if you want to learn more about asset management for benefit of your own organization, there are some resources available here that could help you do that.
Great. If you are interested in advancing your organization's asset management maturity, the Community of Asset Management Practitioners in the US website is a good place to go to join, to be part of that community, to connect yourself with other individuals and organizations in your sector and in other sectors in the US, to learn what they are doing to advance their practices and to find resources to refer to and to learn from.
Perfect. So we can run that as a commercial on our upcoming events and ask Mike to feature it in the weekly ALN newsletter, which if you don't subscribe to, you should. And if we had planned that, you would have been nervous about doing a commercial, and you just guys did a great job. That's perfect.
I would have been so nervous, so would have flubbed it all up.
That's great. Okay, well, thanks to Yvonne, thanks to Jack, thanks to Nick, Mike, and everybody that attended today. It was the most entertaining and interesting show. And I just like hanging out with Yvonne because she has this great laugh that just makes me happy when I hear it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And special shout out to everyone on the MC3 who provided input to what is now campus. So thank you all.
Okay. Thank you much. Have a great day.